everybody. Welcome to this month's YouTube Hop featuring all of the design team members at A Cherry on Top. This month we are focusing on metal dies. So I have like all of my favorite dies here. So this is the fruit basket from Lawn Fawn. I have from my stash this little die that says Tea Party. This is from KS Craft. I have some more Lawn Fawn strawberries and dies. Now, at the time that I am filming this, these dies are still available over at A Cherry on Top, and so is this die set, which is from Honeybee. So I'm going to go ahead and get to die cutting. I'm going to be working with the Parasol collection from Maggie Holmes today because this range really looks good with the pictures I want to scrapbook today. So I've chosen a couple of patterns to give me kind of a start. I'm going to use these patterns in also helping me to kind of pick cardstock colors and things. I might cut, like I was thinking maybe I could cut some of the strawberries from this paper and then ink them up a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go die cut, get all of the bits and pieces I want cut from the different papers, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how we're going to create some of these embellishments for our layout. This video is going to be one really long video because I did a lot of different die cut techniques and I want to share them all with you. So I'm starting with my title, which is going to be Tea Party. I have cut that title 3 times from White's cardstock. I cut it once from that pretty peachy pink pattern paper, and then I cut it once out of the black and white pattern paper for the base. So I'm going to stack these die cuts up, and that's going to give me a lovely dimensional title. This is a really easy, fun way to get a lovely dimensional title. And if you are someone who really enjoys like chipboard letters, this is a great technique to get the look of a chipboard letter with just some pattern paper or white paper and some dies. The top layer is going to be my pattern paper, and then I'm going to adhere the title down to that black and white pattern paper, and then I'm going to set it aside. It can dry and we can move on to our next die cuts. I love how this title piece turned out. It's so cute. So now I can just adhere everything to that black and white paper. Look, adorable. It's adorable. Okay, let's get started. On our next die cut, which is the fruit baskets, I cut the fruit basket twice, once in white cardstock and once in the black and white pattern paper. This is going to give the fruit basket a little bit of dimension. It's going to be a little heavier, a little bit thicker than some of our other die cuts we're going to create, but that's okay because we're going to fill it with some of our strawberries. You can see off to the side there, so it needed to be a little bit chunkier, more substantial than some of the other things. So really simple, and there's our fruit basket. Instead of colored cardstock, I am opting to ink blend my die cuts. So I just kind of cut them into white cardstock. So the bottom part of these strawberries are getting inked up with some fossilized amber distress oxide ink. Then I'm taking the strawberries that I have die cut onto some patterned paper, that pattern paper I showed you at the beginning. Then I'm going to take some saltwater taffy oxide ink, and I'm just going to get the edges of the strawberries with the saltwater taffy ink for a little bit of a highlight, and so that these dies don't look flat. They have a little bit of color to them, or rather a little bit more color to them. And then for the strawberry tops, I'm inking up the edges and a little bit on the stem with Evergreen Bow Distress Oxide ink. And then I will glue my strawberries together and set them aside to dry. Once I had all the strawberries made, I wanted to add a little sparkle to them. So I'm going to take some shimmer mist from my stash and a fan brush, and I'm going to give them just a scattering of droplets. This is pearl shimmer mist that dries iridescent, so it's going to dry kind of clear. It's not a color. It adds more of just a shine or a little bit of a sparkle. I set that off to the side to dry, and now I'm going to come in and do a little bit of ink blending onto my leaves, just to the ends of the leaves, and I am using that Evergreen Bow Distress Oxide ink. I have a number of blending brushes. I have some from Gina K. I have some from Picket Fence. I really like them both, and I have a nice variety of blending brushes because I like to have one for each color. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with my leaves that I did with the strawberries, which is to splatter them with that pearlescent shimmer mist, and then set those aside to dry too. Next up, we have the Teapot and Teacups from Honeybee Stamps. I am starting with Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink. I'm going to ink this up a little bit heavier at the bottom, a little lighter at the top, and I'm going to leave myself a highlight, an area of on this die cut that is kept almost completely white, and that's going to really make these die cuts come alive. So the next one I'm going to use is Broken China. I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm not going to ink it up quite so much. So I'm going to add the Broken China, but you can see here I am again leaving that highlight area much lighter than the rest. And then I'm going to come in with some Chipped Sapphire, and the Chipped Sapphire is just going to go along the very bottom of my die cut. And just like every other die cut, I'm going to go ahead and splatter it with some of that pearlescent shimmer spray and set it aside to dry. For these little tea bags, I'm just going to grab my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink in my little dome, and I'm just going to ink up the wee bottom of the little tea bags. And then I have 3 teacups. The first teacup is going to be inked with old paper, then peeled paint, and then mowed lawn. I'm using the same techniques on the teacups that I used on the teapot, just keeping some of the highlight white or very light. I'm going to splatter them just like I did the teapot. And then I'm going to use Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to attach the cup to the saucer, and then to attach the little teapot or tea bag right there on the edge of the plate. And we're going to do the string at the end. I'm going to do a second cup in yellow and a third cup in shades of pink. And here they all are. So now I have my white Coconut Swirl Basil cardstock. This is the cardstock we're going to be working on to build our layout. And I have Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to blend and blend and blend and blend, and it's going to look pretty dark at first, and that is okay. You'll kind of, as we layer all of these other things on top of it, and then we're going to add some of that pearlescent shimmer, and then we're going to add some water, and it will be lightened up. But I did want the bottom to be a little bit on, to have darker tones to it, to help to kind of pop out our little scene we're going to create across the bottom. So this is going to look blotchy at first. That's just the nature of Distress Oxide inks. Blend, blend, blend. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to blend and blend and blend and blend. Once I have blended, I'm going to put a lot of water on the bottom of this paper. And then I'm going to get a paper towel and kind of wick away some of that water so we get some of those droplets, that droplet oxide effect. Then I'm going to hit it with the shimmer mist. And because my ink is still wet, it's actually the pearlescent shimmer mist is going to react to the oxide ink too. Then to get even more of like an oxide feel, to get even more of that kind of marbly type of look, which is what I'm going for. Before anything is dry, I'm coming in with some black soot, and I'm just doing the black soot along the very bottom of the page, just the very, very bottom. But you're going to kind of see here that black soot is kind of going to react a little bit with all of the other wetness we have going on that page. And then I'm going to hit it with some more splatter, and then we're going to let it dry. It has to dry now. It needs a minute to dry. Now I'm going to come in with all of the die cuts that I cut and layered and colored and made beautiful. All the strawberries and all of the tea elements. And I'm going to go ahead and create a scene across that bottom section of my layout. And yes, that background gives it this like moody feel, but I love the moody feel. I love it. It looks awesome. In my head, I kind of thought about doing something a little bit lighter or brighter, and you totally could. I really wanted that moodiness. I thought it would look really cool, a little bit unexpected and different, and it hit perfectly. Once I was happy with where everything was, I'm going to ever so carefully take each little piece out and glue it down using some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I highly recommend wet glue if you give this a try, because you need the wet glue to stick to the background with all of that ink on it. So I'm going to ever so carefully take each of these pieces off and glue them back in to place right on the bottom of the layout. I popped up the teacups with some foam tape, and so that they definitely seem to be right in the front of our little scene. And I love how those little teacups turned out. And the teapot too. They turned out so pretty. And then I have reserved 2 of the strawberries and some of the leaves to put into the rest of my layout so that everything coordinates and you can see the theme kind of throughout the page. It doesn't take much, but you just need to take a couple of elements from your theme and kind of bring it up into the rest of your layout. At that point, we had a lot of wet glue, so I went ahead and left my layout, sat on my desk, did some chores, took my dog to the vet for shots, and let all of that glue dry. Now I'm going to grab the rest of those pattern papers that I used to die cut a lot of my elements, and I'm going to mat each of my photos with just a small mat of that pattern paper. So this layout will have 4 photos on it. And I'm going to mat each of the photos onto a different pattern paper. And you can see I'm keeping the photos, I'm keeping the mats pretty small. And once I have all of those 4 photos matted, these photos are 3x4-ish. They're slightly smaller than 3x4. I'm going to place them sort of towards the bottom of the page, and 2 of them I'm going to pop up with some foam tape. These 4 photos are from a tea party that I attended the beginning of July. A couple of my friends hosted it, and they went all out. I mean, it was just the most gorgeous table setting, delicious food, loads of food. They really spoiled us rotten. And these are 4 photos of the food that we ate on the cookie trays, the teapots, all just so many beautiful things to take photos of. I actually am going to have a couple pages of this event, and I want to use Maggie Holmes products for all of the pages from this event. I've already done one, and that one I put 4 photos on too. So I'm hoping I can do like maybe 4 layouts total, but we'll see. I do have a lot of really, really amazing, gorgeous photos from this event, so we'll see. But we're going to get 4 on here as well, and we're going to pop 2 up on the foam tape. I'm going to nestle my little tea party title right underneath the photos in that little open space there. And then I'm going to add 1 of the strawberries and 2 of the little leaves on either side of my photos. So for the top, we have all that color at the bottom, the green, the yellow, the aqua, the pink, and there is a pattern paper in Parasol that has all of these paint swipes that match the colors that are in the bottom. So to kind of repeat those colors that are in my scene across the bottom, I put 1.5 inch strip of that pattern paper across the top. Now I'm going to go through the paper repack. I'm going to choose just a couple of things so that I can add a space to journal up above my photos, and then that second strawberry that I had reserved, I'm going to place with a little cluster up in the top left corner. Be sure to head over and hop along with all of the rest of the design team for the video hop. We are giving away a $15 gift certificate, so you want to be sure to hop along and leave a comment at each stop. We have some amazing die cut projects to share with you today in this hop. I have seen most of the layouts, most of the projects so far, and they're absolutely stunning. Okay, I am going to grab a white pen and a black pen, and it is time to add the little strings to our tea bags. So I'm going to use a black pen, and I'm just going to doodle and draw the strings to the tea bags, and then I'm going to come in with the white pen, and I'm going to add highlights to all the strawberries and all the teacups and all of the teapot. Last but not least, I'm going to sprinkle some sequins all around our little scene across the bottom, and then put little clusters on our auxiliary embellishment areas. And that's why we're going to call this layout all done. I hope you've learned something. I hope this video was informative. I hope you found some wonderful techniques that you could use to make your metal dies that much more usable and that much more fun to play with when you scrapbook with them. Have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday, everybody. Bye.